Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our first meetup in this new year 2023. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depends on where you are. We start our continuous testing meetup online. So at first, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Source Lab, to Amusement and Training, that helping us and allowing us to organize this meetup. They paying the fees for Zoom account, promoting the event and doing a lot of stuff. And also a big thank you to the whole organizational team, Aurelian and Severin, to be always here and to support us, support the whole team. So then let's jump to the next slides. What else? In case you missed our last meetups, just go to our website, continuoustestingmeetup.com. You will find the all video recording there. Just go and check it here. So what we have today, so today we have two speakers. So normally we have only one, and today we have two of them. So Andrei Solntsev and Vitaly Sharovatov. So with their talks, we will start at first with a talk of Vitaly. Vitaly is based in Tbilisi with his talk, Worst Advice on Team Design, 10 Steps of Decreasing Quality. Really interesting topic, and we'll be happy to hear from you, Vitaly. So feel free to share your screen. I will stop sharing my screen. For all participants, please mute yourself. In case you have any questions, just put it here in the chat or in Slack channel. And if you have emergency questions, just unmute yourself and just ask. So Vitaly, you're welcome.
Thank you. Everyone, welcome. So yes, let me start sharing my screen. And that's my talk. So my talk is called Worst Advice on Team Design, or 10 Steps of Decreasing Quality. A few words about me. I am quite old. I have 22 years experience in IT. I started when I was 17, I think, or 18. I write lots of articles on my GitHub. Also, I write them for my company, which is case.io. My company produces test management system, which I'm proud of. I also give quite a lot of talks, and all of them are on YouTube. For the last 5 years, I've been teaching engineering managers on people management, on quality management, on risk management, on pretty much anything concerning management. And I love cats, yeah. So yeah, usually talks at conferences and meetups are focused on giving good advice. But I think I thought to do something different, to give bad advice. Pretty much all my theses are backed by scientific research, and later on I can provide links to all of them. So first, as I've said, my talk is on how to decrease quality, how to decrease the quality of the product that your team produces. And before starting and digging deeper, we need to discuss what quality is. There are two standards defining quality. First one is ISO 9000. You probably saw certified by ISO 9000 on pretty much any box of consumer goods or electronics. This means that certain authority, ISO authority, certified the production facility so that they satisfy certain quality requirements. And this standard says that quality is a degree to which a set of some characteristics fulfills requirements. There's also another standard called ISO 25K, and it says that quality is capability of a software to satisfy, once again, some desires or needs. So essentially, quality is just a match between what's desired by clients and what's produced by us. And here's the first bad advice. Your team should never talk to the client. So once again, I'm giving bad advice which will lead you to having a team which can only produce product of less quality, of lesser quality, of worse quality. So if your team does not talk to the client, and let's have a look at the definition of quality. The quality is a match between desired and produced. Who desires? Clients desire something. So if your team does not talk to the client or client representatives or a focus group of clients or I'm not sure, friends who use your product, any clients, they have less understanding of the context of a client. So if you don't smoke, you can't, and you don't, and you don't talk to people who smoke, you can't design a proper lighter for them because you don't understand their context, how they use it, what the problems they have. And there is a body of science called semiotics and semantics. These two areas of science study the meaning of a symbol. It's very interesting. I suggest you read about both of them. But essentially what they study is the meaning of any symbol. So whenever I am saying black phone, you might perceive it differently. So I'm stating a symbol, black phone. You recall something else. So I have iPhone. Maybe if I say black phone, you mean something else. So whenever there is an act of communication, a symbol is interpreted based on your context, based on your memory, based on your experience. So whenever there is any act of communication, there is information loss. So if you remember you might remember there is a Chinese whispers or broken telephone game, whatever you call it. Whenever you tell someone a simple sentence, then you ask this person to copy this sentence, to pronounce it once again, to tell it once again to someone else. And then you ask the third person to tell it to someone else. This sentence gradually changes. So there is an information loss with every act of communication. That's inherent to our communication. And so whenever there is a chain of information flow from the client through product managers, through system analyst, through someone else, more and more information is lost. So that's why if you want to worsen the quality of your product, if you want your team to have less information with more loss from the client context, you need to stop them from talking to the client. And what's even more important here, that if you stop your team talking to the client, they will feel a feeling called alienation of work. It's a very interesting one. Whenever I produce something, I'm proud of it because I've spent, or I'm trying to be proud of it. I've spent quite a significant effort building this something, be it a feature, be it a lighter, be it a rucksack, be it whatever. If I spent certain effort, I feel connected to this piece of product. And if I don't know, if I'm not aware what's happening to this product, I feel alienated to it. So I feel alienated to my work. I feel it's worthless. We human beings need social approval. So whenever we are told, oh, your product is used by no one, or if we just lack information how the product is used, we feel alienated from work. And of course, we're gonna care less of quality. So if you want your team to care less of quality, stop them from talking to the client, from getting actual feedback from the client. Next, bad advice. Have as many people in the team as possible. There are plenty of studies, I found 7 so far in research, saying that they actually really prove it, saying that teams of size 5 and less people produce better quality than teams of size 8 and more. So essentially, if you have a team of 10 people and a team of 5 people with proper processes, a team of 5 will produce product of better quality. So that's hence my bad advice. Make as many people on the team as possible. Make it 50 people on the team. I've said that every act of communication yields information loss. So consider this scenario. If you have just 5 people collaborating together to produce something, it's much easier for them to coordinate their efforts and to synchronize on what's being done, why it's being done, what problem it tries to solve. And if it's 50, it's going to be a nightmare. So if you want to decrease quality, have 50 people on a team. There is also very interesting law in signal processing and computer number processing, whatever. It's called Amdahl's law. It limits the performance gain from which we can obtain from adding more, let's say, CPU cores to some computation. So essentially, this law shows us, there are even good visual graphs proving it, that if you have, on a certain task, if you have 100 cores, it might be slower to compute this task than if you have 5 cores, because every parallelization requires synchronization. Like if you implemented any algorithm, I think you might have this experience, seeing that some algorithms are faster when computed synchronously, not asynchronously, not with parallelization. Same goes with people. You all remember, I think, Gantt charts, which is a crazy invention, great, like ridiculously stupid invention. Whenever you try to plan for future synchronization in intellectual labor, you're going to fail because you don't know what's going to happen. People will learn by doing something. So yeah, once again,
Vitaly, can you hear us?
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I think too that we have some technical problems on his side. So just give him some minutes to come back.
Oh, he's a really good mime.
I am back.
Oh, hey.
Wow, sorry for that. Something weird happened.
Sure.
Right.
You were just saying to repeat. So
yeah, so to repeat, if you want less quality on the team and on the product, have 50 people instead of 5. That's proven to be a bad advice. Then there is such thing called relational communication. Essentially, it boils down to a very simple principle. If people like each other in a team, they will perform better as a team because they will tolerate more issues, they will work together better. Like in special forces in different armies, soldiers do have to get along well. Otherwise, they won't help each other, they won't save each other. It's somewhat similar in intellectual labor. If I generally, naturally hate a person, I would rather refrain from working with him. If I force myself to work with this person, I'm gonna struggle anyway. I won't help him. I won't save his soul from some issues if they occur. So relational communication means out of work communication. So if your team doesn't ever talk to each other out of work, chances are they will produce product of a lesser quality. So if you want to worsen the quality of your product, make sure your team never talks about non-work related issues. Next one, break teams into sub-teams. As I've said in one of the previous bad advices, have 50 people on the team and the product will be of worse quality. Now I advise you to split your big team into sub-teams based on their specialization. There's this good picture of 2 pretty much similar castles hating each other and population of those castles hating each other. This is called in-group bias and out-group prejudice. Human beings evolutionary grew this tendency to separate based on pretty much any criteria. There were even experiments in psychology where a professor had his room of students, and then he said, all right, folks, now those who have more than 3 buttons on a shirt move left, those who have more than 3 buttons on the shirt, move right. And in 5 minutes of these groups formed, they started showing prejudice to each other. He gave them a questionnaire with a series of questions like, would you help those people? Would you give them money? So those 2 subgroups, separated by one criteria of a number of buttons on their shirts, started showing prejudice towards different group in 5 minutes. It's our evolutionary trait, I would say. So to fight this evolutionary trait, cross-functional teams emerged, where teams formed as one unit, having different specialization inside, working towards a certain common goal. So I think you've heard cases where developers considered QA engineers as some stupid, weird people who just find bugs and walk around crying like our product is bad, etc. And QA engineers sometimes bully developers. Oh, why the hell did you make so many bugs? You're stupid. Only we QA engineers can find all the bugs you do. So all this bullying starts usually when QA engineers are separated from developers in a subgroup or in different teams. There are QA department and there is development department. So if you want your quality to be worsen, separate your team into sub-teams. They will bully each other. That's great. The product will be much worse. If people start bullying each other, if they start hating each other, they will not collaborate well. And that's your goal, to worsen your product's quality. Next one, enforce specialization. It's somewhat similar to the previous one, but usually managers say this: we want people to be focused. If I hired a front-end developer, they need to stay front-end developer forever. Why it's bad for the quality? Well, first, a few minutes ago, I mentioned semiotical principle of symbolic ambiguity. So what it means that if I know you, Aurelian, really well, if we speak the same language, I can tell you, oh, can you pass me that stuff? And you pass me that stuff. You understand what I mean? If we work really closely, we share the common language. For me, having had 13 years of front-end experience, front-end development experience, and 7 years of management experience, I have 2 vocabularies: front-end vocabulary and management vocabulary. I have 2 big pieces of knowledge in my head, from front-end and from management. So if I want to work with back-end engineers really well, I would rather try learning something from the back end so that we understand each other better. This is called knowledge overlap. This was promoted by the T-shaped movement, where cross-functional teams benefited from people learning from each other so they could collaborate more and collaborate better. So if you want to worsen the quality of your product, make sure specializations stay strict and rigid. Make sure people don't learn anything else except for their specialization. You will have much more information loss, much less collaboration, and much worse quality. Next one, my favorite one, make people compete. If you have a team, then you have, like from the systems theory perspective, you have a unit or a system which has so-called emergent qualities. What it means that let's say if I'm a front-end developer, and Aurelian, if you're a back-end developer, we cannot single-heartedly produce value for the client. We can only produce value for the client being collaborating together, being a team. So team has emergent quality that it can produce value for the client. And if we are separated, we cannot do that. So once again, you and I separately can't produce value. Team can. And it is very hard, and scientists say it is impossible to analyze the impact that each person in the team properly has on the result. Because you, Aurelian, can just help me with something, and this help might be invaluable, it might be just great. And without that help, I might have struggled for quite a while. Who knows? Or you might not help me at all if you're just focused on your individual contribution. So Deming, the father of quality, says that individual performance reviews are one of the deadly diseases of Western management, and he only has 7 of them. I suggest you go read all of them. So whenever you have individual performance reviews, you are destroying the team spirit. Why on earth would I want to mentor a new joiner if I don't have it in my performance review? If I have only almost a KPI like number of features or number of projects or something else. And another thing there, another bad thing here with performance review is that every review, so whenever I submit a self-assessment, I am reviewed by a manager or peer, and every review is subjective. Every review is subjective. Whenever we deal with people, we deal with subjectivity. And if I, to my understanding, spent so much effort doing something and I believe I've done it really well, and then the manager just says, meh, all right, I feel that it's unfair. And this feeling of unfairness, once again, is proven to reduce quality. Very simply explained, if I feel that I'm treated unfairly, I would care less about the quality. I would care less about pretty much anything, everything and anything. And then sometimes unfairness toggles this feeling of inadequacy of the self. Common known syndrome, imposter syndrome in the IT, that we think we're not doing a good job, but somehow products go to production and things improve. And yet we all think, pretty much all of us think that we are doing not such a good job. We're pretty much all prone to imposter syndrome. And this imposter syndrome is reinforced by individual performance reviews, because we are saying, all right, I've spent much effort on this. Manager sees just a few words, much effort on this, or they see a huge list of words. And once again, they might perceive that this huge list of words is just words. It's nothing really significant. And then the person having submitted this self-assessment might feel that actually he doesn't know much. And whenever a person feels this strange feeling of inadequacy of self or imposter syndrome, they are focused on improving their psychological condition much more than on providing value for the client or helping the team. So once again, if you want to worsen the quality that your team produces, introduce individual performance review. That will help. Another interesting advice, increase utilization. In project management, it's a well-known thing where project managers want to have people, that is specifically popular in outsourcing companies, where they want to have engineers 100% time utilized. So all your time needs to be tracked for project work. And the picture here shows 100% utilized road where everyone is staying in a traffic jam. So whenever you have engineers working 100% of time on their tasks, you have ridiculously high communication and coordination costs, ridiculously high. Any complicated Gantt chart would just show you this nightmare, a traffic jam. And if you make people feel always late, if you're telling them, well, I, the manager, command you to spend 100% of your time on the project-related tasks, and you're still late, why on earth are you such a nerd? Why don't you do your stuff properly? They will feel pushed by that. They will burn out. And there are studies that when people have burnout, or when they burn out, they notice much less errors and bugs. In the air control in the airports, dispatchers and those people who sit by the equipment, they operate, I think, 2-hour shifts, because their focus of attention is so important. In software development, well, we operate 8-hour shifts, let's say 8 hours a day we operate. And yet, if we don't rest during that time, we can't properly function. And another popular thing is not to trust people on your team. So if a developer tells you, I need rest, well, they are lying. They're just lazy. Don't trust them. You hire them, yes, of course, but don't trust them. Force them to work harder. They will notice less bugs. You will have less quality. That's your goal. You can even introduce time trackers, and then you will notice, as I've seen so many times during my consultancy, where time was tracked for imaginary things or for things which are not related to project or for things which are just introduced for tracking purposes. So if people feel they are not trusted, they will spoil the situation much worse. And if you want to decrease quality even more and increase utilization even more, you can make sure people never learn at work. If the person you hired says they are reading a book at work, ask them why. Tell them that you hired them not to learn, but to work, to press buttons. That will decrease the quality. Why decrease the quality? Well, simply because our IT is an ever-learning context. We must learn on a daily basis. We learn about clients' problems. We learn about new technologies. We learn about our code. We learn about old code. We learn about something else. We constantly learn about things. And learning takes time. And what I've seen for the last few years, that when I switched from reading popular IT books to reading scientific IT books, that I grew significantly better. So studying any scientific book takes 10 times more than reading just an IT book. So if people burn out, well, fire them, replace them. Everyone knows that replacement costs are ridiculously high even now with the recession in the US. It still costs from 2 to 8 monthly salaries to replace a developer. And in certain complex domains like medical or high frequency or high load or something like that, it might take even more money to replace a person. So if you want to decrease quality in your system and in your product, fire people who burn, first provoke people to burn out, push them for time, increase their utilization, then fire them when they burn out and replace them, spending a significant fortune on replacement. That's going to be a great recipe for worsening the quality. And yes, I love it. I've heard it a few times. There were people who were 40, 45 years old managers, hardcore managers, saying, you know what? We worked so much more when we were young. We work 16 hours a day, and you're working only 8 and complaining. Yeah, well, we do complain, yes. Next one is hold people accountable. I love it. For some strange reason, there is strong sense of accountability in our industry. We have in Jira, we have who is responsible for this ticket, who is responsible for this bug. In postmortems, we have who's done that and why. And then we try to blame them and hold accountable. We punish for bugs and delays. Or why are you screwing up your estimate? Why have you done so many, why do you have so many bugs in your code? Well, people learn, and if they don't learn enough, they will produce more bugs. I've actually given you already 6 advice on how to worsen the quality with your system changes. And quality managers of quality, they usually say that the quality of the system produced is 95% dependent on the system and the process, and only 5% on the people. That's a quote from Deming 95 and 5 rule. So whenever you have a system provoking people to make bugs, they will make bugs. If you have good TDD, well, chances are they will let much less bugs. And usually engineers are not responsible for introducing process changes. So it's up to you, the manager, to make sure they have either good quality in the system or bad quality in the system. But if you punish the people for bugs, that will toggle fear. And whenever you have fear, you toggle so-called escaping strategy. It's our psychological feature again. If we touch white iron, which is just heated, we feel pain from the burn. And we never touch things resembling this white iron. We are afraid of them. So we escape certain behavior when we were experiencing some bad outcome from that behavior. That's from the evolutionary standpoint, that's very logical. But in our world, in the IT, whenever a manager punishes anyone for the bug, what happens? This person will try to conceal this information later. Why do I need, if I'm the person who had this bug, why do I need to tell my manager that there was a bug? I would rather quietly fix it and not report it to anyone. And so information is key for us. If we know we have a bug in the system, we can let our clients know, we can roll back the system, we can do so much. If we don't possess that information, then we can't do anything. It means that a manager punishing for bugs or shouting or doing stuff like that for bugs and delays, they stop information flow and they have much less tools to work around issues, which will inevitably happen in any system. Escaping strategy is very conservative. I would rather stay within the status quo rather than do anything else. And as I've said, escaping strategy increases information loss. If I don't trust my manager to calmly respond to the information about failure or a bug, or if I don't trust my peers, well, then I will not tell them this thing. Information is lost. And another interesting stuff is that even if I am obliged to tell about a bug or something, I would rather keep it to me for as long as possible. Maybe the situation will just go away. And this is a normal IT term, like it's a normal queue. Whenever you have information queued for later use. So escaping strategy increases queues, which means that we either are not that fast as we were before, or we're just losing the information. And this fear also toggles feeling of unfairness. If I think I honestly looked for all the bugs, I honestly checked all the quality, I honestly wrote all the tests, I honestly did this and that, and I had no idea that a certain server might malfunction, for example, I couldn't possibly make anything about this. I couldn't possibly handle this situation. And if anyone punishes me for this situation, then I feel that it's unfair. And I've mentioned unfairness already. And then fear increases turnover. When people find better managers, they will leave. And replacement costs are huge. So if you want to worsen your quality, hold people accountable. Another one, disagree but commit. So popular once again. Make sure the orders you give, not discussed but executed. It's like when a developer tells you, we are not gonna be on time for the 14th of February. I'm sorry for that. We can't do that. And you tell them, well, no, you must do that. Sacrifice on quality, do something else, but publish the feature before the 14th of Feb. We are counting on it. Our marketing department promised we would have it. This is called breaking professional ethics. It's like coming to a surgeon during the operation and telling them, well, don't use that stitch, use another one, it's cheaper. Well, actually, surgeons do know what stitches to use and what tools to use, and they will not allow anyone in the surgical room, in the hospital. Only a certified professional is allowed in the room. No manager, no administrator, no anyone. So whenever you tell a software developer to do some awful stuff, but we will fix it later, you're breaking his professional ethics. And breaking professional ethics hurts morale, motivation, and creativity. If I am that developer and you, the manager, tell me, I know how to code, you are just my hands, you do what I tell you, what motivation will I have to be creative? Why would I ever suggest anything to that manager? He knows better. Well, go figure yourself. Why do you need me? And once again, this diminishes information flow. I will not come with any solutions or proposal of solution. Why? Oh, I love this picture. Just keep coding. We can always fix it later. Good managers, in quotes, good managers know that tech debt is a myth. Lazy developers just don't want to work with complex code. They're just lazy and stupid. So whenever you have tech debt, you actually, it's I love the term. It's about the debt. So whenever you do stuff which is of bad quality inside the code, like the bad code, not enough tests, not enough quality assurance and quality control, you're going to be paying this debt. And usually this debt is paid with reputation, with your own reputation or your product reputation. I've just read an article today about Tesla, where they filmed autopilot a few years ago in ads. And now the court said that these ads was a fake. So I'm not sure if it's a tech debt or anything. I'm just saying that issues usually emerge and people usually find out. Either the system breaks due to tech debt, or people quit due to tech debt, or people have less morale and less motivation to work with shitty code. Reputation will hurt, or the quality will hurt. So if you want to worsen quality, consider tech debt a myth. And the last one, if you want better separation of teams and people in your company, call managers business in quotes. I've seen it so many times. And engineers, oh, those IT guys. So whenever you distance managers from engineers, you kind of tell everyone that engineers are just servants, and those business people, they know what to do. They're serious, they wear suits, they know what needs to be done. So it's serious people versus weird nerds. And of course, we need to listen to business people. We need to disagree, but commit. We need to code in a shitty way. We need to satisfy internal stakeholders. I've heard this phrase so many times. It's like those managers need to be satisfied. Well, no, the clients need to be satisfied. We are paid by the clients. The whole firm, the whole company is paid by the clients, not by those managers that we are to satisfy. So don't distance engineers from managers. We're all business. It's just one company. So, but once again, if you want to worsen your quality and increase this distancing, call managers business and engineers the IT guys. So please never do what I've just said. None of this. Please do the opposite instead. Do I have 5 minutes more? All right. So let me quickly reiterate. So if we do the opposite, make your team talk to the clients. They will get information of the context of the client's problems. It doesn't require talking to all of the clients. If you have a B2C, let them talk to a few, to a group of representative group of clients. Have 5, 6, 8 tops people on the team. Usually it's much more than enough. Don't break teams into sub-teams. Let them work together on producing value for the client in a cross-functional team. Do not enforce specialization. If your backend developer wants to learn and practice some frontend, even if he's junior in frontend, let him be. Let him practice. It will help you. Do not make people compete, please. If people compete, they focus on competition rather than producing value for the client. Find a balance between slack and utilization. Kanban has this very nice principle of work in progress, WIP limit. In my team now, we have WIP limit of 1. So the whole team works on one task at a time, one-piece flow, so-called. And it shows that this way of working for us is almost 3 times faster than we were working on tasks in parallel. Try it out. Try out WIP limits to be 1, 2, or 3, or read a book on Kanban. It says a lot about it. Do not hold people accountable. Your team works on producing value for the client. Your team is accountable. It's not personas in the team who are accountable. It's your team who produces something. Make sure to listen to your specialist, to the specialist you hired, and to the specialist you pay quite a significant salary. Listen to them when they talk about tech debt, but listen to them in a rational way. Rational way means that either we work in very small iterations, like whenever I'm touching a feature, one approach is whenever I'm touching a feature, I add a few tests here and there, automatic tests. Whenever I touch a feature, as soon as I have it covered with tests, I refactor here and there, a bit here, a bit there. So constant little refactorings covered with tests, so no regression occurs. This is good. Another approach is to plan tech debt buyout, but it's much harder. I would suggest the smaller one. And call everyone business. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much. These are my contacts if you want to chat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vitaly. It was a really interesting topic, and we really had a good conversation in the chat.
Nice.
Not so many questions, more people agreeing and making their own bad examples.
Yeah.
Oh, it was my case, so I had the whole life this situation. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, plenty of that. I mean, for the last 5 years, I've consulted more than 40 companies. Usually they're quite small, from 20 to 300 people. And all these cases are just a norm in most of the companies, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And most of them, they all boil down to lack of trust. I'm always puzzled. A manager hires a software developer in the US for $200,000 per year. And then he just trusts this developer. It's like, why? Why are you paying 1/5 of a mil not to trust a person? How come? That's so weird. Thank you, Josh. Reading the chat now.
So any questions? So if anyone has questions, just unmute yourself and ask it, because I also can't find any questions in the chat.
Oh, Nikita is saying criticizing people openly. Oh yeah, I've actually quit one bank in Russia when I used to live in Russia. I quit one bank just for that. A product manager was saying, Vitaly, you're stupid, in front of my team. Vitaly, you're stupid. You're not a tech lead. You shouldn't be here. Seriously, I was like, whoa, is it even true?
No,
That's
I was told that everybody's friends. It's polite and I should enjoy it. So
oh yes, of course. I always make friends with people who just say things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Nikita, I can hear you. I think Severin, you have the same, yeah?
If you're speaking to us, then it's not working.
is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've made a tweet with your points, Vitaly, if that's okay. With
Yeah,
reference
sure, of course.
to your account.
Yeah, of course.
And
welcome.
next time, can you add Twitter as well, or
Oh,
maybe
yes.
even better QR code to your page with everything?
Yes, Twitter. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, and QR code for conferences and stuff. Because when
yes,
you
I
are
will.
sitting
Thank you so
there,
much.
it's, yeah.
I will. Yeah, thank you so much. Good idea.
And if you want to make a talk at London Java community, which 8,000 people, then send me a message on LinkedIn.
Well, I will do right now. Thank you so much. That's
not right
cool.
now. People are
okay.
first.
Right. Yeah.
I think we have another 4 minutes if we want any other questions. If nobody else has, in like one of your last sentences, you mentioned that your whole team is working on a single task. What is considered a task, and how do you still, like, I assume they are not like literally making like one code change as a group?
Yeah, they actually are. They actually are. So we have one story, one user story, quite small, for a few days or 5 days or 3 or 2 days, something like that. The whole team sits. We have quite small teams, like 3, 4, 5 people tops. We have a few teams, and the whole team, which consists of at least a front-end developer, a back-end developer, and QA engineer, they sit together, usually on a Zoom call or without a Zoom call, but they actually work on a single task. This means the utilization of individual developer stays from 20 to 45, 50, 60%. So essentially, if I am the front-ender and I'm writing code, front-end code now, back-ender either does nothing or prepares something for me. So we all work on just one task. So the team works on just one task. And this makes collaboration cost almost zero. So whenever, if we're working together and whenever I tell you, please give me this API, you're just giving it to me.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sorry, I have a positive example.
Mhm.
Where we had a very little resources and very tight deadlines, and our manager asked two of us, how can he help? So we told him, leave us alone and protect us from corporate bullshit. And he left us
Super
alone
cool.
and protected from bullshit, and we delivered. We lost few tickets because they fell on the floor because we had no time for Jira. So it was on the ball. It was
That's
fun.
super cool. Yeah, I fully agree. It's very strange that so many tools, you've mentioned this Jira issue, the Jira stuff. So many tools are introduced to companies due to some cargo cult beliefs like, oh yeah, we need Jira. Why? Maybe stickers on the wall would do much better. And what you've said, what you've just said, I had experience like that. We were launching one site with a very tight website with very tight deadline 5 years ago, I think. And we actually decided to abandon all trackers, Jira, whatever, just to have the wall with stickers. Much easier to see just straight away. But that only worked for us in the office. It wouldn't work well in the remote setting.
Thank you, Vitaly. And in case for the all community, in case you have any questions or comments or your experience, just put it in the Slack channel. So we already put it here in the chat, or Severin Aurelia will do it right now. Just let's continue there the conversation. So then let's move forward. I will share my screen for just actually for a second. So we are continuing with our second talk for today with Andrei Solntsev. So hi, Andrei, can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, hi.
Yeah, hi. So we didn't have the possibility to speak before the meeting, before the meetup starts. So hi, Andrei. So as you know, Andrei is joining us from Estonia with his topic about Selenide. So welcome, Andrei, and yeah, share your screen. And for all of you, do the same. In case you have emergency questions, just unmute yourself. Otherwise, just put it in the chat, and we will discuss it after the talk.
Yeah, okay. So how much time do you have? Half of an hour, I guess.
How much time do you need?
I can speak a lot. So
let's make half an hour, and after we will see what the community will say.
Yeah, sure.
Including Q&A, we should have 40 minutes total. So should be fine. Yeah.
Okay, can you see my screen, my slides?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. So good evening. My name is Andrei. I'm a software developer from Estonia, and I'm going to introduce you Selenide. It's a library for writing easily writing UI tests in Java. You will see it. A few words about me. I'm a software developer from Tallinn, which is the capital of Estonia, from company Codeborn. I love open source. I am working on several open source projects. One of them got occasionally very popular, Selenide. And I'm also a fan of unit tests, test-driven development, clean code, extreme programming, and so on. And yes, occasionally I'm author of Selenide library, which I'm going to introduce today. And sometimes I will show some pictures of Estonia, in case if you're interested in what country is this, and someone probably might want to move to Estonia. That's our capital. Yeah. So today's plan is short introduction to Selenide. Then I'm going to show some features as much as I can in this time. Probably not all of them. Probably I will show how to do mobile tests or tests for mobile applications in Selenide. And in the end, we'll try to make some comparison between Selenide and few other tools. So what's the point is that the whole world of software development, as you probably know, rests on three sheets. Yes, you guys it right. We have three major problems in software development world. First of all, developers don't write tests. It's my personal pain. I am a developer, and I'm dreaming about about living in a world where all developers write automated tests, unit tests, integration tests, UI tests. I love all of them, and it's a pity that most of developers don't write them. And one of the problems why they don't write is that tests are hard to write, especially like UI tests and integration tests. And among tests, there is always lots of flaky tests that sometimes are green, sometimes fail, and it's hard to maintain them. And that's why we created Selenide. It's a library focused to solve these problems, focused to create stable tests and do it easily. So what is Selenide? Selenide is free open source library which gives you concise or short or readable syntax for writing like stable tests, readable and stable tests. Few facts: there is site Selenide.org. You can always visit it. It's here. You can find some information. You can find some quick start page with short introduction. How can you really start with 10 minutes, having a very minimal experience in Java. We have some blogs with release notes, a lot of them. So yeah, there are a lot of information. And we also have, like the project itself is in GitHub, and we have a separate GitHub organization, Selenide examples, having lots of different examples of using Selenide in Java, in Kotlin, in Scala, in JUnit, in TestNG, and so on and so on, Cucumber, and so on. And we also have Twitter handle for Selenide. So let me introduce how the code looks like. In case of Selenide, you are going to write the usual tests. It might be JUnit test, TestNG test, whatever, which looks like this. Selenide basically has three general commands, methods. First of all is method open, which opens a browser. Underneath, it does a lot of jobs. It downloads WebDriver binary, finds corresponding browser version, and so on and so on. Opens, initializes it with lots of settings, you know. Then Selenide has method $. $, is a method which finds an element on the web page. You can find it by name, by ID, and so on and so on. And then you can call some methods on this found element. You can type keys, set values, click, select options, and so on and so on. In this case, we are going to click the button. And in the most important part of the test, we need to verify that something happens. For example, in this case, we can verify that this element got this text, or we can check that this element got some plus or appeared or disappeared, and so on and so on. So let me go in details with some concrete syntax. First of all, let me show how can we write some automated tests using Selenide. I request people like to see how it goes. So let me write test, and you will see how easy it's really to call method open, giving some URL here. DuckDuckGo, if you don't know, it's just like Google, but free and without any advertisements. Now we can find element either by either by CSS locator. First of all, we need to find the input to set some value to it. We are going to search Selenide, for example, and we are going to press enter, like to start searching. One option would be to call a separate method enter here. It's one option. Or Selenide, one of good features of Selenide is fluent syntax. You might call these methods in a line. So let's forget this one. We might do it in a line. For example, like this. You can call multiple methods. It's fluent. And in the end, we want to verify the result. We find the results. For example, we can check that the first found result should have text like Selenide, for example, right? Or we can check that there was so many results. For finding many elements, we can use method $. $2. $. Finds the first element, $2 finds all elements. We can check that this collection of elements has, for example, size. For example, it has at least like 5 results, something like that. Now we can run this test and it will work, I believe. So you see how easy it really like to start writing these automated tests. Getting back to the presentation. Now let's go into details and see how Selenide helps you to write better syntax, shorter tests. For example, I will compare like Selenide with similar commands like in pure Selenium. Probably, yeah, you know that Selenium is the most popular library for writing tests for operating browser in Java. And Selenide actually is built on top of Selenium, but it gives you a better syntax. In Selenide, if you want to find a header, you just write $h1, for example, which would look like this if you would do it in pure Selenium, for example, or in some other testing library. Syntax which is in Selenide is readable and short, like header should be visible, in Selenium should be like this, much longer, and so on. Like if you want to check that some element does not exist in Selenide again, it's just one line. In Selenium, you would need to write like quite a long code, like try catch that this element was not found actually, and so on. Yeah, there are some ways and some wrappers, but still, yes, I believe that this syntax is much better and more readable and so on. And this syntax also has one great advantage, that if this check fails at some moment, if your test fails, it has built-in waitings. It can wait a little bit to make your test more stable. How it looks like. Yeah, what are different options to wait for something in your test? Of course, you can put sleep at some moment, and this is bad for many reasons. You can use implicit wait in Selenium, for example, and this is also bad for many reasons. You can write explicit wait like this. It's good, but it's long and it's hard to read. And Selenide provides its own alternative, which is the best one, I believe. Perfect. Yeah. And what we call smart waiting. Any of these methods, like should be something or should have something, can wait a little bit. If this condition is not met yet at the moment, then Selenide decides that, well, probably we need to wait. Probably the element will appear soon. And this method will wait up to 4 seconds by default. And of course, this timeout is configurable. You can change it in different ways. That's how we solve the problem with flaky tests or unstable tests. Now let me give some highlights of like basic Selenide functionality. First of all, error messages. When the test still fails, even after 4 seconds, Selenide will try to generate the best possible error message, showing what was expected, what was timeout, what was the found element. And one brilliant feature is that Selenide automatically takes a screenshot and page source of current page. Sorry? Okay. And shows all the elements in the error message. So when your test fails, you can easily like you can easily investigate all the details of the exception. You can even easily click right in your development environment to this link and see the screenshot immediately. I can even show how it works. For example, what if the first element was not Selenide, but was something different? Let's run the test. Now you see that Selenide waits a little bit, up to 4 seconds. Probably there is something loading. Okay, it was not loaded still. And Selenide has generated error message showing that this element should have text, blah, blah, blah. Actually, it had another text, blah, blah, blah. And you could click and see what was the screenshot of that page. In this case, it does like full screenshot. That's why it's very like long. Yeah. This is how it works. Yeah, as I said, $2 returns collection of elements. You can check size of collections. You can check like that collection elements have given texts and so on and so on. There are a lot of checks possible. You can even, this is power feature. You can filter collection and check the result. It often very like convenient. If you cannot write some long, ugly XPath, it's much better often to write it in Java, something like that. And we have a lot of like nice features, sexy features in Selenide. I cannot tell about all of them, just to mention. It has some built-in more powerful locators. It has reports. You can download files or upload files with Selenide. You can use page objects. You can run tests in parallel. You can even create your custom comments and conditions. You can use Selenide to write tests for mobile applications, to speed up your tests by using some tricks, using JavaScript tricks. Oh, sorry, I cannot see. Yeah, and you can have access to local storage, session storage, clipboard, URL, and we have built-in checks for all these objects, which again can wait and so on and so on. Yeah, we have methods for operating with shutdown DOM and so on. So let's start with navigation. We have many different methods to find elements. You can find it by ID or CSS selector in this case. And you can pick up like methods that you like more, that you find more readable. These are alternatives to find elements by class name, by name, by XPath, or you can even find elements, for example, by attribute. There is no such built-in methods in Selenium, so we had to create our own extra methods, like by elements. You can find something by title, by value, very easy, convenient to find buttons by value, for example, and by data test ID. It's very popular strategy to generate these attributes for elements to easily find something in tests. Yeah, something like this. What's next? Yeah, and we have built-in methods for finding elements by text. In Selenide, it looks like very readable. By text looks element by the entire text, and with text looks for element by partial text. It looks readable. Inside, it's quite complex. It actually uses XPath, which is quite long and unreadable. So we give a better syntax for you instead of ugly XPaths. Also, about navigation, you can find parents or children of elements. You can find like grand parsers matching this tag or class. It's often convenient to find something that it's hard to find. For example, to find some specific cell in the table, find the containing table, find some other row in that table, and find some other button in this row, something like that. Like it would be much harder to write the same search in XPath, for example. Yeah, actually we have quite a lot of features. Okay. Reports. It's often useful to see reports that what test really did, what steps test really executed during the test. And in Selenide, we have one built-in report, which is like in plain text. It brings out all the steps that he did, and you can see which steps took most of the time. So in some sets, it's even profiler. You probably can speed up your test using this information. And if you like some nice reports, like beautiful reports, we have integration, for example, with Allure. Okay, this is called how to enable our built-in text report using JUnit rule or JUnit extension and so on. And we have built-in integration with Allure. Probably you might know it's a very popular library for building test reports, like beautiful test reports. You can enable it with just one line, just add listener, and that's it. And in the end, Selenide will generate such a Allure report. which is like beautiful, which is readable, and you can see screenshots here of all the failed steps and so on. So, and you don't really need to do anything more to generate these reports. This is a beauty. Selenide itself tracks all the calls and transmits them to Allure, like to collect the report. What else features do we have? We have methods for working with files. I don't know, we cannot show all of them, so probably you might comment which features are the most important ones for you if you want. But yeah, I'm going to start with files and you can vote for some features. Yeah. So we have methods to upload files and upload even multiple files. We have methods to download. And you just need to find the element, a link to the file or any other elements which triggers downloading the file, and to call method download. And then you can check that the file has proper name or proper content. And just for information that inside of this method, there is a lot of complexity. We have many like 3 different ways how exactly can Selenide download the file. And it's really like an interesting topic for a separate presentation, how downloading works. It's probably the hardest part in the testing. Yeah, it's because like Selenium or WebDriver doesn't have some built-in method for downloading files. Okay, we have even more checks for different other things. For example, we have built-in methods to check URL of current page, like partially or fully with some timeout. And again, all these methods can wait for some time, for some timeout. They too take a screenshot if the check fails. They create a readable error message, expected, actual, and so on and so on. So like a full-blown like testing framework with all the checks, matchers, timeouts, and so on. We have some checks for checking clipboard content, again with duration and so on. We have checks for checking local storage, session storage. We can use these methods to set some value, to get some value from local storage. Yeah, someone commented that basic out, switching browser tabs, and file upload. Okay, nice. File upload I just shown. I have shown about basic out. It's basic out. Yeah, why not? Let's show basic out test. Yeah, what I like usually to say, I have created like slogan RTFT. You probably might know slogan RTFM, like read the fucking manual, and I created slogan read the fucking tests. So all answers to all your questions you can find from Selenide own tests. Selenide has like its own test suite, and you can find pretty much anything. For example, basic out test. You can see how exactly can use basic out in your tests. Yeah, when usually you would call method open just to open public page. When you need to log in using basic out, you just can add some additional parameters here. You can add 3 parameters: domain, login, and password. Easy. And basic out is done. You are logged in. There are several other ways how can you do authentication. We have few different authentication types, probably 2 likewise. Yeah, and so on. Next topic was switching browser tabs. Actually, it's also very easy. We can find something like tab test. Yeah, types test. We can run it even. Let's look what it does exactly. Okay, so yeah, it works so quickly that we cannot even understand what it does really. But it opens multiple tabs and switches with them. And actually, it's okay. It shows how to switch between tabs using WebDriver API, which is quite like long. And now we are going to see how can we switch between tabs using Selenide API. You just need to call method switch to, and yeah, let's try switch to, and you say you want to switch to some window which is basically the same as tab. You can switch to some tab using index, or using name, or using title, and so on. So we have different names. You can like yeah, you can also switch to frame, to inner frame, and so on. We have different methods. Again, you can find frame by ID, index, name, and so on. We have even methods to switching into frame using some timeout, because sometimes frame is not immediately available, but it might be loaded like after 10 seconds, for example. Yeah, these are methods to switch between tabs. Page objects, one very popular topic. It's amazingly easy to create page objects in Selenide. You just need to create class page, and which should have some methods for operating with page elements. For example, in this case, we might transform our DuckDuckGo test or Google test using page object. For example, public method search, like can find the element, call the proper methods, and like return probably some value, probably return some next page or something like that. Like, as you see, creating page objects is really, really easy. You don't really need to have any factories, initializers, WebDrivers, and so on. It just works. Yeah, no factory, no notations, and so on. You just code and it just works. Often people want to extract these elements to fields. They are used to do that. And the answer is yes, you can do it by Selenide, no problems. For example, the most simple option, you can extract like this by this selector to field. And again, use dollar inside of the method. It's the easiest option. I recommend this one. But sometimes people even insist that they want to move the element to the field. And it's also possible. Like this, you can declare elements as fields, and it also works. It works, and Selenide also has, by default, this option that all these Selenide elements are lazy loaded. So it will not start looking for this element immediately at this moment, but it will start looking for the element only at this moment when you call some function on it. So it's really convenient to declare the page object once and then reuse it between tests. It will work. And even you can use these Selenium built-in annotations like find by. Many people like them, and yes, it's also possible. Why not? If you really like this way, but I'm just insist that it's not really needed often. Parallelization. People often ask, can we run tests in parallel? And yes, the answer is it's easy. You really can run tests in parallel because Selenide holds a separate browser for every thread. So if you run two tests in two parallel threads, it will just work. The yellow code will use its own thread, and the blue code will use its own thread. We have out of time soon, but extensible. Yeah, that probably is the last one. You can easily extend built-in Selenide functionality by creating your custom conditions like this. To enable this CSS condition, you can just write a custom method, and you can even shorten this one using lambdas. And you can also create custom commands. You can call methods on any web element. You can call method execute and your stuff. Your stuff is again some lambda, which does everything you need. Very convenient to create like API or domain-specific language for your tests, DSL, right? Yes, I wanted to mention that you can also create tests for mobile applications. It's as easy as web tests. We have a special project, Selenide Appium, integration with Appium. And when you add this dependency to a project, your tests will again work as simple as plain web tests. It will work. I can run if you want. Yeah, these tests, you will see that it works really. But yeah, let's go on. You can use page objects also. And you can even reuse Selenium tests or Selenium like Selenide page objects between web and mobile tests. You can write one page object which works both with web page and Android application and iOS application, and like write once, run on free environments, like nice theoretically. And probably I should compare Selenide to some few other tools. Often people ask, should I use Selenide if we already have some test suite on Selenium? Should we rewrite the tests? Or which one should I pick, Selenium or Selenide? Because Selenium was a very popular tool, like the most popular tool for writing automated tests for years. So why should you switch? And the answer is easy. Actually, Selenium authors also say the same. It's not only my opinion. They also recommend to use not Selenium, but Selenide or some other library for writing tests. It's because Selenium, by definition, is low-level tool, not for testing, but for driving browser. It's web driver for operating browser, open browser, close browser, find element, click, close browser. It's not a testing tool. It doesn't contain matchers, screenshots, and so on and so on by default. You can do it manually, but you need to do it, like you need to waste time. While Selenide is a high-level tool specifically for testing. So it contains all this stuff needed for testing, matchers, screenshots, built-in weightings, integrations with some other testing tools like Allure and Selenoid and so on. So it's highly recommended, yes, to use high-level tool. I should probably also compare Selenide to Playwright because it's getting very, very popular in the world. Many companies started like migrating to Playwright from Selenium or Selenide. And I can say that actually they both are great. Playwright is also great, no questions. And I may bring some differences. Playwright is mostly used in JavaScript, usually. So if you like JavaScript more than Java, then probably Playwright is a good choice. Yes. What is good, it's driven by Microsoft. They are developing it quite quickly and bringing a lot of new features all the time. And what I really like about Playwright, it allows you to write, to run your test on 3 major browser engines. This is really like, because it's often a little bit hard to run your test in Selenium or Selenide on Safari, for example. It's technically possible, but it's not smooth. But Playwright has some constraints also. As far as I know, it allows you to run only locally, so on the same machine, test not remotely, not in cloud, something like that. Yeah, you can run these 3 major browser engines only in Docker. And what many people really don't like is that these are not really browsers. These are 3 major engines. I mean, Chromium, whatever, WebKit, and what else. But there are like custom browsers built on these engines by Microsoft and of some concrete version. You cannot like run your test on many different versions of Chrome. It's not possible. So it's up to you to decide if this is important to you or not. So what are bonuses of Selenide? It's written in Java. So if you like Java, as me, probably it's better to use Selenide. I personally love Java and I hate JavaScript. So it's my personal choice, at least. Selenide also has big community. It has been developed for more than 10 years already. It has like chats and Stack Overflow and all the stuff. It allows you to run, since it's built on Selenium and WebDriver, it allows you to run your tests not only locally, but also remotely in some cloud, in some other machine, in some servers, remote servers, in Selenium Grid, in Docker or not in Docker, and so on. So it allows you to do a lot of stuff, like running in cloud and so on. And as far as I know, again, Playwright doesn't allow you to write mobile tests. It only can write web tests, while Selenide allows write tests for mobile applications also. In many companies, it's critical, it's crucial to have possibility to write tests for mobiles too. In theory, actually, Selenide allows you to write tests for desktop applications also, but in practice also. Some people really do it, but not me. I didn't try it personally. And just final word, a few things that I'm proud about. Statistics, download statistics. Selenide is being downloaded like quite a lot already. In December, it was downloaded almost 500,000 times, like in a month. So I'm like proud about this like a strong sheet. And I collected some known users of Selenide. First of all, it was inside of Estonia, because initially I started like populating it in Estonia. There are several Estonian companies doing it, using Selenide, like all major IT companies and all major banks, as far as I know. And other users from other world. It was Ego's MasterCard, no? And many other companies, American companies, European companies, Asian companies, like a lot of different things. So it's something to be proud of, yeah. About Google, I'm not sure. I found Selenide usage in their GitHub repository, but I don't know anything about their really working code. Yeah. So a lot of companies, banks again, outsourcing and so on. Probably it might be impressive to you. I hope so, and you might decide that yes, it's easier to write your tests in Java also. Still, as the tests are quite short and readable. And also even developers can write these automated tests. It's not so complex, really. I hope so. Thank you very much for your attention. Here you can find my information and links to other my presentations. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions now or later in chats, in Twitter, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrei.
Josh, would you maybe repeat your question since not everybody's reading the chat?
Sure. So you mentioned earlier that Selenide can, like if you call open, Selenide will automatically check for the correct browser driver and correct browser versions. It'll kind of handle that sort of lower level stuff. I just wanted to confirm that's true, because that's a really great feature, just getting that stuff out of the way.
Yes, no, actually, for this specific feature, Selenide uses a library called WebDriver Manager, which can do it, and Selenide like uses this dependency to do this job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's as someone who's written a lot of Java-based Selenium tests, keeping your driver, updating your drivers has always been a pain point. So yeah, that's good. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, I will ask one question. I come from JavaScript world, and the framework I use has a feature for enabling one flag. It allows to retry the tests under the hood. Is there such? It's called the quarantine mode. Is there such feature in Selenide?
Yeah, the question was: can Selenide rerun your test? The answer is that in Selenide you probably don't really need it, because Selenide can rewrite not the test but every step of the test. Like as I showed in the beginning, any of these commands, when you like write some element dot like click, for example, like something like that, any of these methods will try to do it, and if it fails, it will retry to click. If this check fails, it will retry to check the text of the element, like up to 4 seconds. So Selenide has built-in retries, but on another granularity. It will not retry the whole test, but it will retry this given line. It's even much more faster and more stable.
Okay, thank you.
And the beautiful part about it is that you don't need to do anything to allow this, to enable this mode. You don't need to write any annotations, any loops, any try catches, nothing. Just this line out of the box can retry. can wait and reply. This is the whole beauty of Selenide. Yeah.
You are in love.
Sorry?
You are in love with this tool.
Yes.
Well, he created it. It's his child.
It should be
Yes,
like
it
this.
Yeah.
So two questions, if I may.
Mhm.
So first question, is it possible to run this tool in parallel with Selenium? Because some projects, they will already have pre-existing Selenium, which
Yeah, good
nobody is
question.
using.
Good question. Yes, actually, you can. If you want, if you have some existing project in Selenium and you want to start using Selenide, you have two ways basically. One way is revolutionary, like to rewrite the whole project to Selenide. It's possible. It's not so much complex actually. In separate presentation, I can show how to do it with using IntelliJ shortcuts, for example. But another option is also possible, evolutionary. It means that you can leave the old code as is, and you can start writing new code using Selenide. And yes, they can live together. You can teach Selenide to use the same browser as your previous test used. It's totally possible. We designed Selenide exactly to being able to reuse your previous browser, to reuse your previous code. So it's totally possible, but this is like a topic for a special talk. We can like manage another time some workshop how to do that. Yeah, actually it's easy. Yeah. Actually, I even show how to do it. Yeah, you just need to write. When you have some browser in your tests that you open using your logic, your all code, you just need to call Selenide method set WebDriver, and that's it. Starting from this moment, you can use all this method, dollar, open, and so on and so on. And Selenide will reuse your browser. So it's totally possible. Yeah.
How do you sell this tool to management? So they have an existing project, they have 20 manual testers, they have Selenium, which nobody's even touching anymore because everybody's afraid. So like, how do you sell it as a Andrei Sonsa from CodeBone, and how do you sell it as developers who want to bring your code, your stuff inside?
Actually, it's for me, it's very easy. I don't need to sell it. I don't sell it. It's free at open source tool. I only show it on conferences. I only show it to automation engineers. And the point is that automation engineers really are poor people. They have a lot of troubles. They have flaky tests all the days, like every day. They are tired of it and they want to solve it somehow. And I am coming and showing that, hey, look, this is a tool that automatically solves most of your problems. This is their turn, like to sell the idea to their bosses. It's not my goal. Yes, but I believe that it should not be hard, because all existing code bases with tests are flaky, are unstable, and are very, very slow. So it should be a good idea for like any boss, any management to start using some tools that is more effective, more stable. So like, I don't see any reasons why not.
I think one of your biggest arguments is just the amount of code. So even if you have a manager who doesn't really understand anything, if you can just look, these 3 lines here would be this much Selenium code on the other side, that already might help a lot.
Yes, but I'm not sure that it's really a strong argument, because most of this code is often copied or automatically generated using some shortcuts, some powerful tools of your like development environment. So probably it's not so hard to generate a lot of code, but it's really hard to maintain that code and to find why this code fails sometimes. This is what is really hard. Yeah. Like I like to say often that Selenide saves like 20% of your time when you write the code, and it saves 80% of your time when you read or debug the code or try to fix it. Yeah.
I have another question. Oh,
Yes.
sorry. I understand you're not selling it. That's cool. But being open source, currently there's such a huge demand for open source, and business is even more scared. Like for business, that being scared is a drive. For example, in London, there is a State of Open Source conference happening on the 7th and 8th of February. It's a big one with politicians, like very top politicians from the United States. So how do you promote Selenide? Because it's not enough to create a good stuff and leave it in peace. So do you promote it with communities around the world? Do you have some strategy or?
In the very beginning, I had, like for the first 2 years, Selenide was not known at all. Like I started doing it in year 2011, and it was not well known at that moment at all. And only at year 2013, I went to my first conference in Kiev, Selenium Camp. It was like the biggest Selenium conference in Western Europe, and started showing this tool on conferences. And for the first 1 or 2 years, it still was not really popular or widely like spread. And at that moment, I started asking people on conferences, like, where are you getting information? Where are you asking to help? And they started telling me, hey, we have some chat in Slack. Hey, we have some site or Stack Overflow, like something like, hey, we have local community in Ukraine. And I started registering myself in all these chats and in all these communities, and started like helping people. Every time when someone asked, like, hey, how can I download a file in Selenium? I cannot do it. Hey, then I answered them, look, we have Selenide, which can do it in just 1 line. It has method download. It just downloads. And that started suggesting different like solutions for people. And probably it worked. After some time, it somehow got popular. And after some time, I saw that people often answer to these questions instead of me. So someone asked how to download a file, and some other started answering that, hey, in Selenide, you have this function. So, this way, probably it went like more popular. Yeah. Conferences, talking to people, helping people, it works.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. Thank you.
Any other questions? So if not, here's the same situation. You have the possibility to ask your question in Slack channel. So in case after the meetup you have, I wanted to ask this or that stuff, just write it in the Slack channel. So Andrei will answer it as soon as possible, I would say, in this way. So then thank you very much, Andrei. I would start with wrap up the session. So could you please stop sharing your screen? So
sure. Yeah, thank you for attention. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Andrei. Thank you, Vitaly, for participation in this meetup. If you have any other topics or ideas, just feel free to contact us. We will be happy to see you again here.
Sure, plenty of them.
So what next? For the whole community, the video recording of this meetup you will find on your YouTube channel and else at our website, continuoustestingmeetup.com. I think I would prepare it until end of next week. Just check our website, check our YouTube channel. You will find all information there. And what's coming next? The last slide for today. We already planned our next meetup in the middle of February, 15th of February. Stefano Magni will present his topic, the long road to remove the flakiness from Aura console end-to-end test. So I hope to see you there. Thank you for your attention and have a nice evening, afternoon, morning, depends on where you are. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.